This is the recording of our call with a community member who has kindly consented to have the call recorded so we can explain to people once you obtain your green card what the parameters of your legal responsibilities as far as immigration are concerned. So we'll talk about that and hopefully be able to answer these questions for the community. Sir, 1 second. Let me just pull your email that you had written me. You said that you've got your green card. Now, once you have your green card, you had a series of questions about that. Let me get started on those. So, first was, should I notify any U.S. government agency and or Indian government regarding change in status and having received my green card? That was your first question, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. There is no such requirement that I'm aware of, at least at this point. Today, in June 2017, there is no such requirement that you have to notify any U.S. government agency or Indian government just because you've got your green card. However, what you should do is you should inform your employer that you've got your green card so they can update your Form I-9, which is an internal matter within the files of the employer. They don't have to update that information with any government agency. That clear?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Now, the second part is why I asked you that, okay, we should talk about this because this can be complicated to just discuss over emails. Is there any restriction on my traveling outside of USA when I'm in green card status? Now, traveling has certain predicates, certain dependencies that should be calculated and that should be known. First of all, people have this idea that if I leave USA for less than 6 months, I won't lose my green card. Well, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Technically, if you leave the United States after you've got your green card, you leave the United States with the intention to never come back. Even if you're gone for 1 day, on the second day you change your mind and come back, if it could be proven that you had left with the intention never to come back, your green card is gone. So, first thing, very important thing is your intention. If you ever travel outside USA where it is your intention never to come back, your green card can technically be lifted. Is that clear?
Yeah, okay.
Now, but if you leave with an intention to come back within a reasonably certain period of time, for example, I've got a 2-month contract in Egypt to do some civil engineering work. After that, I'll be back, and my job continues in the United States. I'm going in relation to my job, or even if I'm taking 2 months off to volunteer in a Teach America program or something like that. If I'm volunteering and leaving USA, but it is my intention to come back within a reasonably certain period of time, I will not lose my green card if I come back within 6 months. The 6 months is important in this respect. When somebody returns on 6 months, they are subjected to much lesser scrutiny. There are certain legal rules on that than if they are gone for more than 6 months. Okay. So it's 6 months or more than 6 months. Let's just say 6 months or more. So whenever you go outside USA for less than 6 months, the amount of scrutiny placed upon you is always lesser. And if you have gone with an intention to come back within a reasonably certain period of time, you should be okay traveling. So what if you want to go for 2 months to India every year? No problem. No problem at all. Especially when your home is in USA, you live here, you work here, your children go to school here. Taking vacations month, 2 months, or even 3 or 4 months is not a problem. So some of these factors are important. Sometimes what happens is, let's say you are in USA and you decide to go to India and you take a job there for, let's say 2 months or 3 months, that goes into 7 or 8 months. You could be in trouble because government can say, well, it looks like you quit your job here. Job is important, where your children go to school is important, where your permanent home is important. These are normally not issues for most people. Most people who live in US, they won't have these issues. But I'm just pointing them out to you so that if this situation should ever arise, I want you to consult a lawyer before you make your plans.
Okay. So as long as my residence is here, permanent residence, then that should show that the intention I'm coming back, right?
Exactly. And exactly. But intention, as I have mentioned many times in earlier conversations with different people, intention is a state of mind. State of mind cannot be directly looked at, it can only be inferred from circumstances. So circumstantial evidence is important to prove your intention. So for example, if you leave USA with one-way ticket and you don't come back for 1 year, chances are you've lost your green card, because if you are outside USA for 1 year, you will automatically lose your green card.
Okay.
Can you prevent that? Yes. There is something called a re-entry permit, which allows you to be gone for up to 2 years. And the re-entry permit is a definitive announcement by a U.S. green card holder that I do not intend to give up my green card. It is not a foolproof way of saving your green card, but it is quite effective in most cases. So if you needed to go away for up to 2 years, you can file for re-entry permit. Okay.
So I have to file this re-entry permit before I leave US, or can I file
Right.
it later?
Right. No. You have to be in the United States when you file for it. After you file it, within a few weeks, you are scheduled for biometrics. You have two choices. You can either file and leave USA. You have to be physically in the United States when USCIS receives your application. After that, you can leave and you can come back for the biometrics, or you can stay here, do your biometrics, and then go. The choices for receiving your re-entry permit, if and when it is approved, are either to your lawyers, or to an address in the United States, or to a consulate in your home country. So if you were going to go live in Mumbai, you could pick up your re-entry permit in Mumbai consulate. Okay.
Now,
so you don't have. Go ahead.
So I was just thinking, if there's a family emergency which I have to go immediately, should I still do that? Because
No, because that's not going to be extended. That's not going to be 1 or 2 years. That's just going to be a few months at the most, right? So I think that should be okay.
Okay.
Does any unemployment in future affect green card? No, of course not. Once you have received your green card, you've been promoted to the job or given the job that you were supposed to take. After that, your status is as good or as bad as any U.S. citizen as far as unemployment is concerned. Okay? So if you are unemployed for 6 months or self-employed, or you decide to become really zen and say, look, I'm tired of all this rat race of white clothes corporate jobs. I just want to become a gas station attendant. That's fine. Or a cab driver or an Uber driver. That's fine. Okay. You have the same freedom as any U.S. citizen as far as holding or not holding a job is concerned. Okay? You asked me how long can I stay outside without affecting my green card status. I answered that question. Less than 6 months is usually no problem, as long as you had no intention of leaving for good. And if it's more than 6 months, less than a year, documentation will be needed. If it's a year or more, you need a re-entry permit, otherwise you would lose your green card. If you ever get stuck in a very odd emergency where you're gone for a year, you can always apply for a reinstatement of the green card called Returning Resident Permit, or S as in Sam, B as in boy, number 1, SB1 visa, same thing. That is done through the U.S. consulate. You go to the consulate, you explain to them, in writing of course, through a form, everything has a form, that shows that your stay was unintentional. They can at that time reinstate your green card for you. Okay, so that is something else to keep in mind. There is another form that you need to be familiar with. That's called Form N470. That form is particularly important as leading me into your next question about citizenship. I'll actually get back to the normal rules, but let me deal with the N470 first. N470 is filed by those people who are working either on a defense contract or a religious missionary contract kind of deal, or are working for a foreign branch of a U.S. Are working for a U.S. company outside in something that promotes U.S. trade, which pretty much is any job. So if Siemens USA sends you to work in France, you could potentially file the N470. What does that do? Well, N470 is a highly misunderstood form. N470 is helpful in your naturalization only to the extent that normally, if you are gone from USA for 1 year, you have to start your naturalization 5 years all over again. Normally, you can apply for naturalization 5 years after you get your green card. But if you leave USA for 1 year, you have to start your 1 year, 5 years all over again. By filing N470, you prevent that resetting of the 5 year clock. And there are certain very specific rules that cover the N470, including that there must be 1 year during which, after getting the green card, you must not have traveled outside at all, not even for 1 day. It's an odd little rule, but keep all these things in mind. So N470 is usually filed in conjunction with the re-entry permit application. Okay. To bring back the discussion to normal rules of a naturalization, naturalization requires that your green card must have been approved for 5 years. And out of those 5 years, you must have stayed in the United States at least 2.5 years physically. And none of your stays outside USA should be 1 year or more, because that resets the green card. And if your stays are more than 6 months, less than a year, they will ask you to explain why you were gone for that long. With me so far?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm throwing a lot of information at you, but Monica will be recording this. She'll be converting this into a YouTube video or something, and you can look at that. And if you have any follow-up questions, we can do another call. So you wanted me to tell you if there's any list of do's and don'ts to qualify for U.S. citizenship. And I think other than what I just discussed with you, of course, pay your taxes. Don't be in default of your taxes. Try not to get too many traffic tickets. If you get a few, yeah, that's okay. But if you get too many, that can be a ground for troubles. Don't get into any criminal type of problems. That can be a difficult situation. You can lose your green card if you have a felony conviction. There are many things. Another thing that can hurt your green card is something like a DUI, more than one or two of them. Then you get into all kinds of weird situations. So as long as you're like regular people, I don't think there's anything to worry about. But if you run into any of these difficulties, taxes, trouble with the law, or need for extended travel, you should always check with your lawyers.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else I can help you with?
Rajiv, I just had one more question.
Sure.
Don't mind, can I ask?
As many as you like.
Yeah. Since now I'm a green card holder, can I sponsor my mom as a dependent visa? She's in India.
You have to be a U.S. citizen to sponsor her green card.
Okay.
For green card holders, as I recall, the only family other than their children and wife they can sponsor is unmarried adult children. So over 21 but unmarried, you can apply for their green card. Once you become a U.S. citizen, your possible beneficiaries can be larger, including your parents. But there is a little known provision that is sometimes used, and we've used it where necessary. When, let's say that your parents don't have anybody in India to take care of them, we've been able to extend their tourist visa in those cases stay under tourist visa, even though you are on a green card, we can try to make the argument that please, there's nobody there in India taking care of them. This provision is not very clear cut in cases of holders of green card. But believe it or not, if you were on a non-immigrant visa like a student or an H1 visa or O1 or P1, any of those visas, or L1, you actually have more rights to bring your parents here. Why? Because there are certain categories of visas where people are not directly or dependents, and you cannot sponsor them for derivative visas, but government recognizes that we will give you extensions of tourist visas. So if you were here on an H1 and you wanted to bring your mother here because she's alone in USA, in India, you could actually do her, because she can't get an H4 being your mother, she can still get a B1 or sorry, a B2, which can be extended because she's recognized in those as being covered under those situations. However, green card holders don't have that same privilege, but we've been able to get extensions for their parents also sometimes. So it's not a foolproof method, and really the safest thing to do is to wait until you get your naturalization. Once you are naturalized, your parents can be here within a year or so on a green card.
Okay. Now, even if this extension, is there a certain time limit for the extension to be provided?
I have done it repeatedly. Every 6 months we have to do it. There are some people who are in their third or fourth or fifth year. We are doing it repeatedly for them. But it's by no means it should be taken as a given or a guaranteed rule.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Got it. Thank you so much.
That covers everything for you?
Yeah, that covers everything for me.
Well, thank you for agreeing to the recording, and good luck.
Yep. Thank you, Rajiv ji.
Anytime. Bye-bye.
Every other Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we host free community conference calls. Everybody is welcome to join. Some people post questions ahead of time. You can take membership in our forums. All of the details are there on our website, immigration.com. You can take membership ahead of time, and it's instantaneous. It happens right away. And post your questions beforehand, or you can just log in. The phone number and all are provided: 202-800-8394, 12:30 Eastern Standard Time every other Thursday. We have free apps for both Apple iOS platform for your iPhones and iPads, as well as for Android. Just look for immigration.com, the period dot, and the application should show up.